We're going to call the regularly scheduled Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for Tuesday, July the 20th, 2022, 3 p.m. to order, and have an invocation and pledge of allegiance by Ms. Benson.
Invite you to join us with the prayer and the pledge. Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful community that we share. We thank you for those citizens willing to give of their time and talents to serve this community. And we thank you especially for the employees of ECUA who sometimes drag us kicking and screaming into new technologies. We thank them for all that they do for this entire community. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I do understand that there is an accident off of Copter, so that may be the delay of some members, but we're going to proceed with item C, the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions? If no changes or additions.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes, I'd like, just under, I guess it'd be unfinished business, just discussion of recycling rates. It's not bringing up the rate thing we just did, it's something separate, discussion of recycling rates.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Ms. Benson?
So move. The agenda as amended.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Brown, thank you. Motion's been, the agenda's been motioned and second. Please vote. And the agenda passes by 8-0 vote. Okay, we come to item D, which is open forum. And I have one pink slip for Mrs. Louise Ritz. And if she will come forward, we would love to hear from her. She's a former CAC board member. I want to say welcome back to the chamber.
Oh,
Ms. Ritz.
thank you very much. It's good to be in the audience. I want to make a very positive comment today. I was looking at the ECUA website for some information, and I found all the information I needed and was very impressed with how I could navigate through the system. So thank you for all of those, to all of those who make sure that website is current. And I want to thank Natalie also for some helpful information. So heads up. I could do for Natalie and the website. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Ms. Ritz. Okay, no other pink slips. We're going to proceed to item E, which is the approval of minutes. Are there any amendments or changes to the minutes? If not, then can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevens. And please vote on the approval of the minutes. And the minutes pass for June the 15th, 8-0. Moving on to item F. We have an adoption of General Resolution number GR 21-46. It's a general resolution authorizing the acceptance of bid and award of contract of Allied Universal Corporation of Miami, Florida for sodium hydrochlorate and providing an effective date. Do I have a motion to accept this general resolution? Ms. Benson?
Move the resolution as submitted.
Thank you. We move the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Kurtstrain?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And are there any questions or comments on the resolution? If not, please vote. Wonderful. The amendment passes by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to item G, the adoption of General Resolution number GR 21-47, a general resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Southern Ionics Incorporated for aluminum sulfate and providing an effective date. Do I have a motion to accept? Ms. Benson?
Move the resolution,
Thank you.
GR 2147.
Thank you. And do I have a second of that same resolution? Mr. Brown?
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments on the general resolution? Seeing none, please vote. Ms. Murphy, please vote.
There we go, I didn't press it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The vote of the general resolution passes by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to H. We have the adoption of general resolution number GR 21-48, a general resolution authorizing the executive director to sign an engineering services proposal from Tank Industry Consultants in the amount of $113,890 for design and construction phase services for rehabilitation of the PCC tank, authorizing the use of funds from RW 187 elevated tank maintenance. Do I have a motion on this general resolution? Mr. Perkins?
Move the resolution.
Thank you. And do we have a second on the resolution? Ms. Benson?
I'll second it, and I have a question, too.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the second. Now, Ms. Benson, your question?
Yeah, I noticed, I don't remember seeing this company before as a contractor. Are they new? And it's interesting that they appear to be pretty far away. I'm just curious if we don't have anybody closer who can do this work.
Okay. We've heard your question. Can we ask Mr. Woody to respond?
You say nearby, you're talking about for engineering consultants to do this work?
Yeah, I mean, they're headquartered in Indianapolis, and then they have places in El Paso and Pittsburgh and in California, it just seems that's a lot of travel time. Does this require such expertise that we need a major national company? Just curious.
Actually, there's not too many folks. It's a fairly specialized service. There aren't a whole lot of competitors who do that work. We've had excellent luck with them in the past. Most recently, the East Tank that we just painted with the 3 new emblems on it, they conducted that work for us as well. It is a professional service, so we go through a review process as we do with any professional service. And I'm afraid Tom is not with us, and Don Palmer had to leave due to a family member issue. So I can't quote from you the last time that we went through a professional selection process for that particular consultant, but we do that periodically.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any problem with it. It was just striking that it's that far away. Okay, thank you.
They do a lot of traveling.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments on the resolution?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Wood.
Just for the general interest, I probably ought to add additional information. Since I made reference to the last tank that we did paint and put nice emblems on the outside, and I think was very well received by the community. This particular tank is the one right by the college, so it has PCC initials on it. For those, a few of you were here at the time, most of you weren't. Going clear back to 1991, we originally went into an agreement with PCC for the financing and construction of that tank. And a part of the terms of the agreement with PCC was they provided the upfront funding and essentially loaned the money actually to ECUA at that time. And then we paid them back over a period of 4 years, or a series of 4 payments. Part of the conditions associated with that, not only did they provide the real estate necessary for construction of the plant and the funding for the tank as well, they do have, we have a contractual obligation to paint their college initials on 2 sides, opposing sides of that tank, the PCC, so that will show up again. We do have some options for the other 2 sides in terms of what type of logo we put on, provided that it meets certain requirements. It has to be either our name, an emblem, or an environmental or mission statement or designation typically used by ECUA. I'm sure they would probably be open to other things if we were to present it, but contractually that's our point of starting if you wanted to do any negotiations on how we painted the outside of that tank.
Okay, thank you. So if I understood you correctly, you are saying that we have the option of putting information on the other 2 sides of the tank?
Yes, of the 4 sides, PCC initials have to be on 2 of those sides, 2 of our choosing. And the other 2, we have the options to either do nothing or put something ECUA related in terms of our logo or messaging.
Okay. Okay, is it the will of the board to take this up for discussion or put nothing on the tanks? I think that's...
If you don't mind me responding to that comment, this is a pretty early stage. We're just going through the evaluation. With the award of this contract, our outside consultant will be inspecting the tank, looking for areas that need to be cleaned and evaluated. It'll eventually lead to painting, and at that point in time, as we get through that stage of the design, that we can have that discussion. That's
Okay.
quite a ways down the road still.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, please vote on General Resolution 2148. And it passes by a vote of 9-0. Thank you. Moving on to I, adoption of General Resolution Number GR 21-49. A general resolution authorizing the executive director to execute an interlocal cost-sharing agreement with Escambia County for the cost of water main replacement on Kimstrand Road authorizing the transfer and use of project funds. Can I get it? Do I have a motion on General Resolution 21-49? Ms. Benson,
Move the resolution.
thank you. Do I have a second on that same motion, on same resolution? Mr. Brown?
Second.
Second, thank you. Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? I see no questions or comments. Please vote. And the vote passes by a vote of 9-0. Thank you. We are setting records today, I think, on time. And we will proceed to J, informational reports. Our water production report is listed in your booklet on page 35, and your water reclamation report is listed on page 36 for your information. Moving on to unfinished business, we have a line item listed now for recycling rates. Mr. Perkins, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We received communications recently that, we're talking about renegotiating our recycling fees that we charge all the people that use our regional recycling facility. And I have some concerns about that, and I think I'd rather stick with the rate structure as we have it. And I just wanted to put that out there so it doesn't catch anybody by surprise at the board meeting or anything. But what happened is when we originally established this regional MRF, this regional recycling facility, we wanted to make sure that people would use it and that they would use it in both good times and bad, and most importantly, that it would be self-sustainable and that our citizens would not be underwriting or financing the cost of recycling for other body politics or governmental entities. And it's worked incredibly well. We had a disaster when China started refusing recyclables from all over the country, and the cost for recyclables went through the floor, and there would have been no recycling going on the entire Gulf Coast had we not had that sliding scale and were able to continue it. Now, those entities did have to pay more money. They were having to pay pretty sizable money to get rid of the recyclables at the time, and some of them were having debates in there. I think the city of Milton and some other places were having debates and saying, hey, we need to discontinue recycling, but there was public pressure and they kept doing recycling, but they were having to pay a lot more than what they had planned on for recycling, just because that's what the market would bear. And so thankfully the market has come back pretty strong, and now some of these entities are like it was before, where we're actually paying a nominal amount, but a little bit, for their recyclables. So it's a good deal for them again. And so now we're talking about, well, we want to just go ahead and do a flat rate and not have that sliding fee scale anymore. Well, I think the whole reason behind the sliding fee scale was so that we could continue to recycle in both good times and bad, and most importantly, so that our citizens would never, ever be in a situation where they were paying for recycling in cities in Mississippi or Panama City or Alabama or these other places that recycle with us. So, when it comes up for discussion, I'd ask the board members to each do their own analysis and look into it and look at the structure, talk with staff. And I know, right now it would be a windfall, but I worry about getting in a situation where we were like before, and it's also going to probably just create a lot of confusion with people. I think we should either keep the structure like it is. I don't even think we should give them the option of choosing either one, because if they choose the one that we're talking about now, where it's just a set rate, and something happens that we can't foresee, and the market crashes again, then I'm gonna have people who are writing me letters right now complaining about their rate increase, saying, hey, I'm on a fixed income, all my other costs have gone up, I'm elderly, and can't swing this rate increase. I'm gonna have this person, how do I explain to him, and it's Mr. Richard Kuhn on Alconbury Court, you know, all his other costs have gone up. How do I explain to him that, oh, by the way, you know, you're gonna have to pay for people living by the casino over in Gulfport to recycle, you know? So I think the reason we set it up like that was wise, and I hope that we'll continue to go that route.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Woody?
Mr. Perkins, you raised some very good policy points, particularly the ones about wanting to be sure that we're not underwriting costs for folks outside our immediate jurisdiction. Our first and foremost obligation is to be as cost efficient and as we can for our immediate customers. Then secondarily, those that are outside of our jurisdiction who may want to participate in the recycling effort in the general region. I would ask that you and other members give staff an opportunity to put together some facts and figures to make the best, most informed decision you can that addresses that policy and the concern about our operations. Actually, we've been operating at full capacity for quite some time, actually a little over full capacity. We operate Saturdays quite frequently, so the success of the system is a good thing. And in terms of wanting to be sure that we're not underwriting cost, we want to be sure that the rates charged by those folks outside our jurisdiction aren't so low that some of our operating costs are being borne by folks inside our system. And that does concern me because there's two particular cost centers that we aren't really adequately addressing inside our sanitary and recycling system. One is making principal payments back to the water wastewater fund for the original purchase of that equipment. We've made that payment for several years, and then when times got a little lean, we didn't do that. We need to be back on that to be sure that we are repaying that debt to the water wastewater program. And then secondarily, this equipment is now about 6 years old, almost 7 years old. And to really prepare ourselves for the eventual replacement of major components of that system, we really ought to be setting money aside in a sinking fund for replacement of capital equipment. While we do that faithfully associated with our rolling stock, we really haven't done that with the MRF itself. And we need to be sure that we're doing that. So let me provide some information that helps answer that question, and then we can have probably a little better discussion on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Woody. Mr. Perkins, so if I understood you correctly, Mr. Woody, we're going to have more information forthcoming on this so that we can bring it before the board and talk about it at a later date?
Yes, some of that's, in fact, Mr. Perkins and I had a conversation on this topic earlier this week, and Randy and I have already chatted about it. And got a little distracted from last Thursday, but we'll be back on that pretty quick.
Okay. Okay, thank you again, and we're moving on to line L, which is new business, and we have none. We're to line M. You know, I'm so tempted to use military acronyms and say Mike. But line M, committee communications. Are there any committee communications, Ms. Spencer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the items we voted on earlier today was an interlocal agreement dealing with some improvements along Chemstrand Road where we partnered with the county. And this has been so beneficial over the years, this partnership, particularly with when they do stormwater and we do sewer expansion, and I certainly value this. But it occurred to me, when people call me about sewer expansion, I always say, well, we're kind of at the mercy of the county's schedule. When they plan things, we piggyback. And do we have a seat at the table when the county's doing the planning? Do we just take a passive role, or are we meeting with county staff to map out where priorities are? And if we're not, shouldn't we be? Because I think there are times when the need for sewer expansion might be a driver, and they might be willing. But I just kind of like to know how that partnership is working. Are we kind of the dependent one, or can we be more active in this?
Okay. Mr. Woody?
On the development front, economic development front, I would say we have an active role. In the example you just gave, I would say probably a passive role. We largely follow the priorities based on the Public Works Department's needs to replace roads based on their service condition, and whatever drives that, whether it be average daily traffic and other things that typically are decision points for roadway construction. But you make a very good point. That's something that ourselves, as well as our peer utilities, probably need to take a more active role in, because those are opportunities for us both to save money.
Yeah, I would really like to see our engineering staff and other, just have a routine meeting with their counterparts at the county and just chat about some of these things. I think it's good for our relationship with the county, and it may be beneficial to both sides. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benson, and Mr. Woody for those comments about the interlocal agreement and how we can improve upon it. We have coming to end our second open forum. I have no more pink cards. So we move to our Oscar. And we move to adjourn, but before I do, we want to advise the board and CIC members that we're going to have training approximately 5 minutes after we adjourn for the new PrimeGov system that we're going to be going to next month. So please stick around. It should be less than an hour, and we need your participation. This meeting is adjourned.